Welcome back to the T&T Barn, where today we're going to undertake on another furniture restoration project. Much like most of the projects that seem to be working on lately, this one comes by way of my daughter, who picked up a couple mid-century modern pieces at a yard sale. I think she paid $30 a piece, maybe $30 for both, so don't quote me on that. But what she picked up, this is the end table, which is the one I'm going to start with. Is by Lane in Virginia. And you can see it's got like a dovetail pattern to the surface. That is a laminate. This one's got some very heavy scratching on the top. The bottom here doesn't look too bad, although the finish is definitely worn on both the top and the bottom. Here's a closer look at the end table. You can see the big old gouge scratches over there. The finish is failing over here. Not so bad on the bottom, but still wore quite a bit. But that's table number one. Table number two is the one that I really like. It's a matching coffee table, and you can also see the finish is in very poor condition. So what she wants me to do is fix up the finish on the tops and on the sides of both of these and then give them back to her. And today I'm going to try something I've never used before. Now this may be hard to believe, but I've never used a finish stripper on any project I've ever used. So I did watch a few videos, and I know you need to put it on quite liberally and then get it off quite quickly. So about 5 minutes tops, or you do run the risk of leaving streaks. So let me get ready, get some gloves on, and we will start putting on the stripper. And if you can't tell by the nice shiny face that I've got, another thing we have to work through today is it's just slightly cooler than the surface of the sun in the barn here today. But let me get my latex gloves on and then we'll start stripping. Now my daughter Madison tends to be a big fan of this mid-century modern stuff. And for the most part, I definitely agree with her. It's usually pretty good quality stuff, the way it was built back then. Looks generally nice. There are some exceptions that our opinions may differ, but I do like this set. So hopefully it turns out quite nice. So now with the citristrip, we're going to put on a liberal coat. And again, I'm working as if we've got a 5-minute window to get this back off. And what we're going to be using is a metal scraper. So let's go ahead, get this on here. I think I'll start with the top. Just do this as a small test, and then we'll do the bottom after that. It's probably easier to put on just with your gloves, but I'll use my little foam brush. That's definitely a liberal amount, I will say that. We do got to leave it on there long enough to actually work. Like I said, I've never used this before, so this is all new to me and a learning experience. Let's leave that on there for a couple minutes. Then we'll try to use the scraper, see if anything comes off. All right, it's been a few minutes. Let's go ahead with the scraper and see if this actually takes anything off. If not, we can always do it again if we didn't wait long enough. Oh, I do see some finish. in the goop. So something started to work. Don't know how much this is actually getting off. The more we get off this way, the less we'll have to sand off, I suppose. I'm not a big fan of too much sanding on a laminate. You can see the disgusting finish in with the pink goo. So something's going on. Well, it looks like it definitely got some of the finish off, but not all of the finish off. You can see this kind of striations in the direction I was going with the scraper here. So I'm going to put it back on, and this time I'm going to go the other way, and then we're going to call it quits. We're good enough at that point, and move on to sanding if we have to, which we'll have to. So coat number 2 of the pink goo. Now when we get done with the polish stripper, and after I get it cleaned up and it has a chance to dry, we're going to go with a really light sandpaper. I'm probably going to do 220, depending on how those gouges, those big scratches, react to that. Otherwise, I may go down to 180, but no lower than that. Again, this is a laminate, and you definitely don't want to burn through the laminate. So I'm going to probably start with 220. But anyway, I think it's been about another 5 minutes. So I'm going to try scraping this off from the other direction. Definitely getting more finish up. Definitely messy stuff. Definitely going to be going through some paper towel. All right, let me get this cleaned up. I'll check back in with you. So here's how it's looking after 2 coats of the stripper on the top. Actually did 3 on the bottom. And I did find out if you leave it just too long, it starts getting really tacky. So my advice would be use multiple coats and get it off quicker. So maybe 3 or 4 minutes in this heat and humidity is about the maximum working time you've got. If you do find yourself in the need to clean it up and it won't just wipe off, you can use mineral spirits and some steel wool. That's what I use. But now I've got what looks like almost a lightly sanded finish. So the next step for me is the orbital sander, 220 or 240 sandpaper, whichever I've got. And then along the edges, we'll do that by hand on the rounded corners and bevels. All right, here is that end table, fully sanded down to 220 and cleaned. And I like that natural color. But it came out pretty good. I think I got, for the most part, those big gouges out of the top, but I don't want to sand it down any further. So next we're going to work on the coffee table. Here you can see a close-up of just how bad the finish is on this table here. So we'll start stripping this and see if we can't get it cleaned up. I did learn yesterday, if I haven't mentioned it already, that if you leave it just a second too long, it gets really tacky, that stripping compound, and you end up with a mess on your hands. So I'm going to go with multiple coats, probably 3 minutes apart, or 3 minutes of set time before scraping. And I'm going to be doing sections instead of the whole thing, because there's no way I can scrape and clean from one end to the other in about 3 minutes. So, wish me luck. This is what we're working on next, and then I will check back in with you in a second. And there is 3 coats of stripper. Not quite uniform, but I got that nice dull finish that I'm looking for, which means most of the old finish is off. You can see down here where it was all cracked, that's pretty much gone. Should be able to take care of the rest of this with the sander. And there's the second table, all sanded, all cleaned, and now ready for stain. So that's what we're going to do next, is stain the 2 tables. It is finally stain day, and what we're using today is what my daughter picked out. It's General Finishes oil-based gel stain, and it's called Candlelight. I'm not going to be able to see that. Maybe I'll bring it a bit closer. But it's supposed to be a reddish brown color. A little rectangle right here. But anyway, we're going to apply this gel stain with a foam brush and then wipe it off with a rag. I need to put on some gloves first. I hate putting on gloves on a hot, sweaty day. They just don't want to go on. We'll have to call that good enough anyways. This is pretty thick stuff. This stuff definitely has an odor to it, so you may want to make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. I happen to be inside the barn with both barn doors open on both ends, so I get somewhat of a breeze. Not quite enough to make me happy, but it's better than nothing. Almost done. Rag time. I like it. I like it a lot. So now all we got to do is the same thing to the end table, and then we'll wait for this to dry and we'll do some clear coat. I'm going to turn this table around to show you the difference, because it was both the same color top and bottom. Now I've just got the stain, Candlelight, on the top. hopefully you can see the difference there now between stained and not stained. Now I got to go ahead and do the bottom, and then we'll check back in with you. There we have it, a completed end table, all stained up and ready for clear coat. So clear coat is next. I might as well show you what we're going to use here. General Finishes Gel Top Coat Satin. That's what we're going to be using on both the end table and the coffee table. So our stain from yesterday is good and dried and cured. So now it is time to try our satin clear coat. Again, we're using the General Finishes Oil-Based Gel Top Coat in Satin. Now, since we're not wiping this off, I don't want to be quite as liberal with my coat thickness as I was with the stain. Also anticipating that I will most likely do 2 and potentially 3 coats of clear coat. So that is the first coat done on the coffee table, and I'm assuming, since this is a satin finish, that the shine will come down a little bit once it dries. But we'll see. And there we go, complete. The only thing left to do now is to take them home and check with my client to make sure my daughter is happy. If I can find a few more of these on the cheap, be nice to snag them up, bring them home, refinish them, and see if we can flip them. Well, I think this is a good place to wrap up this video. I had a lot of fun refurbishing and refinishing those 2 tables for my daughter. I would do it again, I really would, if there's an opportunity to do so. They weren't that bad. They certainly looked pretty poor in the beginning, and they look a heck of a lot better now. But anyway, if you have any questions or comments about this video, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up before you head out, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye. So now we're going to take a quick break to thank this week's sponsor. And this week's sponsor, like every week's sponsor, is me, Chris Gladstone with TNT Try New Things, where I have started a new website link. Partnering with Buy Me a Coffee is an opportunity for you to check out some of the items I have for sale that you have probably watched the videos on me making. It's also an opportunity to sponsor the channel directly, either through buying me a coffee, or if you're feeling particularly generous, signing up for an annual membership. With that, I'm going to go back to the video.